So it is a feeling response, a tacit recognition. So this is what Richir Avatara Bhakti Yoga is built on, and it's moment-to-moment turning to me. And you must have this turning to me be based on that, not be a technique or something you're doing simply based on some verbal verbal instruction, or obstruction for that matter, but verbal instruction that you're trying to carry out in some rote manner. You're supposed to turn to me, so you're turning to me now. No, you don't just turn to me for no reason. You turn to me on the basis of the recognition response, the tacit feeling response. And that makes the turning easy to volunteer. And gives you the entire logic for the adaptation of all of your activities to that feeling, so that all kinds of activities and relations, and all the functions, faculties, everything is always turned to me based on this tacit responsiveness. This is the nature of devotion, true devotion to me. And it becomes searchless beholding of me when it acquires your entire life. So searchless beholding of me is not simply some technique you take up by permission at some point, you see. It's a development of the practice. It's a demonstration, a sign that is acknowledged at some point. And having been noticed and acknowledged, then it can also be cultivated, and it develops through coming into my company and further instruction about the matter and so on. And searchless beholding of me becomes spiritual communion with me, devotion in the spiritual sense, and that becomes true hearing, most fundamental self-understanding in devotion to me. And this develops as more profound spiritual responsibility, which is the seeing practice of spiritual devotion to me. This shows itself ultimately in the sign of the thumbs, the samadhi of the thumbs, and establishes the perfect practice, not as an exercise you do based on philosophical instruction, you see, but as searchless beholding comes about as a inevitable demonstration of this tacit response to me, made into a way of life, you see. So the perfect practice in due course, likewise, is demonstrated to have begun. It begins by spiritual means, not philosophical means. It's not merely, therefore, an exercise. It is a continuation of the responsive practice of devotion to me. It is simply its perfect or fullest form. And it, of course, has many more developments that follow its time of origination as a practice. But all of this way, you see, develops in this manner, not on the basis of argument, self-applied, self-conscious technical exercises. It is a way of relationship to me. It is a relationship to me, not a body of techniques. You see, it is not a self-guruing or self-manipulative way. It is a devotional and spiritual way, given by grace, that develops naturally on the basis of a fundamental responsiveness to me, manifested avatarically in this bodily human form. Even beyond my physical lifetime, this bodily human form remains the focus of this devotional turning. It is a unique means, usable after my time of physical incarnation, because I'm being photographed right now, you see, videotaped, and so on. my image suitable for this devotion is transferable through time as well as in space. Devotees in other parts of the world use photographic murti forms, are using it right now in various places. So this is the focus of this responsive devotion, this body here. That's the function of it in terms of the sadhana, in devotional terms. And it develops into its various forms, the way it develops into its various forms based on the elaboration of this fundamental foundation, this tacit foundation of feeling response, recognition, tacit recognition response. To me here bodily, self-manifested, found and felt in my fullness without being able to put it into words. You can say things, but they don't exhaust it. And so this process becomes ultimately not only wordless, silent in that sense, but enters into the domain that is prior to mind, prior to the body, prior to the psychophysical complex, prior to gross, subtle, and causal dimensions of conditionality, gross, subtle, and causal characteristics of the body-mind, but gross, subtle, and causal characteristics of experienced existence. It enters into the prior domain, the divine self-domain. And it simply has no reference to this appearance. It outshines it. Literally outshines it ultimately. So this is how I translate my devotee into my own brightness, my own bright form and nature, my own condition and domain.